Welcome to the fourth and final part of this GryphonArt Christmas decoration tutorial. Whether you have a shape to decorate or are just interested in the techniques, we are now ready to move on. Right, I'm now ready to decorate my shape, which has had 5 thin layers of varnish applied to it, and I'm happy that that's given it an extra layer of protection. The shape is now effectively a blank canvas. This is where you can start to be really creative. You can apply ribbons, inks, buttons, fabrics and anything else you can think of or you have to hand at this point in the process. This is the arty bit where you are limited only by your imagination. I am going to keep it quite simple because I don't want to cover too much of the paint finish that I have laboured to achieve, so I'm just going to use some ribbon and a button. The first thing I want to do is to attach this piece of ribbon across the centre section. Now I'm going to do this with a combination of Yoo-Hoo all-purpose adhesive and double-sided tape. I don't really like using wet glue with fabric because it has a tendency to become absorbed into the fabric, which means that it is visible when it's dry. However, wet or gel style glues do have a strength about them, so it's really a matter of compromise. I'm going to start by just trimming the edge of the ribbon where it has been frayed and to the approximate length required. I'm going to leave a little bit over and I'll trim that back later. I'm now going to apply double-sided tape to almost all the ribbon. So not right to the end because we know that this goes over the end. So as close to the edge as possible. Turn it around and do the other side. So having double checked that fit, I'm now just going to remove this backing and then I'll fit the ribbon in place. Now these ends here, just because I feel that they need a little extra securing. Actually, I think I'm just going to put an extra piece of tape on the end there because that tape is holding well. So I'll put some tape on the end and then that will fix that ribbon and allow me to trim it back. I just want to show you that you can see where there is an excess of double-sided tape. The ribbon covers it, but we don't want this stickiness here. So all we need to do is we remove the backing, if I can get to it. And then we draw the excess tape back on itself so that it doesn't extend beyond the edge of the shape. And at that point, we can stick the ribbon down to it. Okay, I'm just going to repeat this on this other end and then I'll come back to you. Now, with this particular satin ribbon, bearing in mind that I did trim it back a few moments ago, I hope you can see that, it's already fraying. So what I'm going to do is just trim the ribbon back to where I want it to be, and then apply a tiny amount of PVA glue to the edges just to prevent further frays. Now I'm going to put the PVA onto another surface. I've got a jar lid here actually, but even a piece of card would do. And then I can just make sure that I really don't have much at all on there, because I don't want it to mark the ribbon. It will dry clear, but it will make the ribbon look slightly darker. So, sorry, I don't think you can see that very well. So it's just those very ends to hold the threads in place. Alright, so I'm now going to do that to the other end, and then I'll be back again. The next thing I want to do, just move that out of the way, is to fix some thinner ribbon across the centre here. And I've already threaded this through a brass button which I want to use for embellishment. So the ribbon will help to hold the button in place. Now, first of all, holding the ribbon centrally, I just want to check that I'm happy with the length of ribbon, and I can see, if I turn it over, that it's just overlapping the centre at the back, which is where I want it. So there's a couple of things that I need to do. First of all, I need to place double-sided tape along the left-hand length of ribbon, which I know is going to fit. The problem is my tape is 6mm wide and my ribbon is only 3mm. So let's just start by applying the tape anyway, being careful not to move that button. Find the end. Right, so I'm going to apply this tape so that it sits on one edge of the ribbon, and it doesn't really matter which edge you do this, so whichever you're happier with, more comfortable with. You just don't want it exceeding the edge of the ribbon. Now I'm going to remove the backing tape and, as before, just fold the tape back on itself so that it sticks to itself and doesn't exceed the ribbon edges. Right, that's that ready. I'm going to put a small piece of tape across the back of the button but I'm also going to add some Yoo-Hoo gel glue as a double measure. There we go. It's because this is quite a heavy metal button and I just want there to be extra sticking power. I'm just going to leave the Yoo-Hoo now until it feels a bit tacky. Now I can see roughly how much double-sided tape I need for the remaining side. So I'm going to cut that now. And apply it just as before. Now this is more difficult to do this through the camera lens, so I'll come back to you when I'm ready to position and fix. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead now with positioning and fixing. I'll just try and show you how tacky that super glue has become. I hope you can see that. It's sticky. By the way, I use a glue gel like Yoo-Hoo over something like super glue because I have found that super glue has a tendency to go brittle over time and the join can break. Right, so if I just position this gently where I want it, and then just fix the ribbon in place. I can now turn that over and again just fix the ribbon where I want it. And trim away the excess. Just in case you're wondering, I didn't take the thicker ribbon around the back of the shape because the edges would have been square here and here, which is not a look I wanted. We don't have that problem with the thinner gold ribbon, which is now also helping to hold the brown ribbon in place. The next thing I want to do is to prepare a bow out of the gold ribbon. Now, I use a 3-phase method for this. First of all, I decide on the width of the bow and add a little for overlap, and this gives me the length of ribbon that I require. So here, if I just demonstrate that, fold that over. That's approximately the width I want, and I've got this little bit of overlap, so I hope you can see, that will enable me to join it together. I then use a little Yoo-Hoo to join the ends, overlapping them to form a ring. I then put a little tiny spot of glue on that join, but on the inside of the ring here, so that I can join the center, leaving an equal amount of loop either side. I have an example here that I can show you. Okay. Finally, I take my reel of ribbon and just start to form a knot. with the length of tail that I require. In this case, quite short. Now before pulling the knot tight, I take my flattened ring and put it into the center of the knot, making sure that the overlap will be at the back of the knot. And then I just pull it tight. And then fiddle with it until I like the position of the tails. I can then cut the excess of my reel. All that remains now is to fix in some hanging ribbon. I've cut a piece of ribbon here that's approximately the length that I require. Right, I've just threaded that ribbon through there, which was a bit tricky because the hole's quite small, but the use of a cocktail stick to push it through worked wonders. Now I'm just going to tie a knot to change the direction of the hanging. If you can see, if we were to hang that now, it's going to want to be in that position on the tree. But if we just put a knot in there now, you can see how the ribbon is running in the better direction for us. Okay? So that's that, and we can knot these two ends together at whatever point we want when we're ready. So all I need to do now is to attach my little ribbon. So I'm just going to apply a little amount of Yoo-hoo glue to the back of the bow. Very stringy, this glue. I'll just let it go off a little bit. And then I can position it. It does take a little time for the glue just to go off a bit. And once I'm sure that's gone off, I can trim this ribbon back as I want. So that's it, job done. I hope that you are now inspired. Now, this is the last video that I will be creating this side of Christmas. So a Merry Christmas to you all, and I hope that you come back for another tutorial in the new year, if not before. Thank you for watching.